Well, hello, and welcome back to the BackLog, and welcome back to Citizen Sleeper 2. We're in the Wheat Sheaf here, and I think we gotta buy a meal. I guess we just wait. Wasting dice and getting rid of all of our glitch. There we go. There it is. You find yourself in the cockpit, alone with Flint. They have a habit of entering a room so silently that you don't notice them arrive, or the reverse, leaving so silently that you turn around to find them gone. Right now, they hover expectantly at the corner of your vision, preparing to speak.
Do you ever think about your original?
The way they ask the question, you can tell they've been eager to ask it for a while.
The person you're emulated from. I mean, the person who sold you to Essenharp.
Flint's expression doesn't betray any emotion, but you feel like you can detect some unknowable feeling whirling behind their eyes.
Sometimes I can't stop thinking about them, about who they were, and if who I am was anything to do with them.
Flint looks away.
Is my personality a product of being a sleeper, or simply a copy of theirs? Have I changed, or am I still identical to them? Does the emulation process, the loss of memory, the insertion into a frame actually make us totally different people? What came through the process of emulation, and what was blocked?
Flint is looking around the cockpit rapidly now, their eyes flicking from object to object as they speak.
Are there memories still inside me, but cut off, concealed? And if I admit it, I wonder if I even know what it feels like to be a person. Do the humans around me feel the things I feel? Or do they feel more? Feel less? Feel somehow differently? Do they feel the creeping claustrophobia of being trapped inside a body with no escape?
Flint's eyes flick back to you.
Or do only we know how that truly feels?
I can't answer that.
Then who can?
Flint meets your eye.
I haven't seen another sleeper since I escaped Essenharp.
Share your experiences. There's a wall in you, one that you've built for yourself, one that separates the kind of question Flint is asking from the parts of you that need to live. You feel it now, like a weight in your chest, and behind there's a raging torrent pressing against it. You can't take down the wall. You were drowned. But in this moment, for Flint and for yourself, you take out a single brick. You make a gap in the wall, and you share what comes bursting forth. You talk about what it feels like to wake up in a dying body, to catch a glance of yourself in a mirror, to be seen and reminded of your false and fractured face. You share the pain of lost memories, of fleeting déjà vu, of dreams that slip beneath your waking life and replace it. You find in your broken bodies and unsteady minds a kind of solidarity, one shared between connected strangers who might one cycle understand each other as friends. As you put the brick back in and shore up your defenses, you know that cycle will not be this one, but its distant possibility is a reassuring one. Yes, but what about what's-his-face? We got a message, Sleeper. Seraphin comes to the bunks to get you, his mood unusually serious. He brings you to the cockpit, his keepsake coin in his hand the whole time, spinning between his fingers. Seraphin's worried. Once you're in the cockpit, you recognize Carmen's voice immediately playing over the rig's speakers.
Sleeper, I hope this message finds you and your crew safely. You'll forgive me if I'm a little tight on the details. My message is as follows. We are ready. We will be waiting where agreed. Godspeed.
The message ends with a click. So, Seraphin takes a deep breath. They're waiting in Greenbelt. The Wheat Sheaf, he said, whatever that is. You ready for this? I'm ready. Seraphin nods. All right then. Quiet falls over the cockpit. There doesn't seem to be much more to say. Carmen will be waiting, but you know he'll want you to be prepared. I'll be ready when you are, Sleeper. Seraphin nods to you. You nod back. You know where you need to go to end this. All right, so there's our message that yes, we are nearing the end of the game. Let's do it right. We've only got Overthrow Laine and Investigate Hexport. And we got to go back to Darkside to do both of those. So let's do this here and meet with Carmen. Oh, yeah, I'll just buy a quick little... I'll take a milkshake, please. The Wheat Sheaf is surprisingly welcome for what was once an old Solheim canteen. The corporate bones are still there, metal stools, a strip of service windows, sheet metal walls, but over the tens of thousands of cycles since the collapse, they've been softened and changed, layered with the detritus of human existence. As you wait at the bar with Seraphine, you look at the planters welded into the walls, the scrawled messages, the layers of stickers and flyers and posters, the amber light fittings replacing the old fluorescent strips, the gear racks lined with farmers' packs, the netting bulging with crates and canisters. Along with the low rumble of conversation coming from the off-shipped farmers, it all lends a warmth to the place, one that helps soothe your nerves ahead of the meet with Carmen. You and Seraphine lean side by side at the bar, facing towards the room. You both watch Flint, just across from you, who insisted on coming along. Seraphine clears his throat. What do you think of Gandance? The sudden question makes you look over at him, and you see he's playing with his coin, spinning it in his palm. I like her. Me too. Seraphine smiles to himself, closing his hand on the coin. I think... He pauses, and then starts again. We kind of have a thing. He shakes his head. You know what I mean. I noticed. Yeah, he smiles. I thought you might. Well, Seraphine sighs and stretches. I guess I just wanted you to know. You're thinking how to respond when the bartender taps you on the shoulder and nods toward the door to the back room. It's time. You look over at Seraphine and Flint, who's already approaching you. You give them a nod and head inside. The back room is a metal walled and lined with racks of old Solheim tech. You see cookers and auto wash units piled up with dead terminals and servers. At the far end, a window looks out across the greening glass of Greenbelt's farms.
You made it.
Carmen smiles, backlit by the window.
We have a lot to discuss.
Let's get to it.
Flint, if you don't mind.
Carmen nods at the other sleepers. They enter and gestures toward the door. Flint turns to you.
I'll be outside.
They slide the door shut, standing guard on the other side.
We have to take some precautions, even here.
Carmen gestures for you to come closer.
So, Seraphine sighs, is this plan of yours looking any more reasonable? That depends on what your crew can bring to the table.
Carmen glances at you.
We're gonna need to do a lot of work to direct the data. Ankita gave you towards those who need to see it.
What do you have in mind?
We need to reveal Laine's betrayal to Utsbo and Darkside without being discovered in the process. Not an easy task.
Ankita can help us.
She must. Carmen looks away. Without her, this plan is impossible.
And we make contact with Ankita as soon as we make it into Darkside.
Seraphine looks at you. We just need to stay under Laine's radar.
The thought of Laine brings the memory of his attempted takeover to the front of your mind. The feeling of him slipping behind your eyes, moving your frame. That can't happen again.
Apologies. We do not wish to interrupt, but we must interject in your current course.
Overseer appears in the void, flickering nervously.
An encounter with Laine would likely be catastrophic.
Overseer's 3 forms orbit you.
As we have mentioned, on arrival to Happapep, we must immediately seek the mainframe, from where we can recover my codebase and reconstruct ourselves. We would then be able to aid you in your defenses against being rewritten. This is our recommended course.
The 3 heads nod simultaneously and decisively.
Still with us, sleeper?
You come back to Seraphine's concerned face.
You dropped out for a second.
Explain about Overseer. You tell Seraphine and Carmen about Overseer, about how the old Solheim protocol slipped into your frame from the prime ship mind, Jean-Mi used in the diagnostic process, of Overseer's protection from Laine's attempts to control you, of its proposal to make that protection effective through the old mainframe of Darkside. They listen quietly, Seraphine carefully watching you as you explain, revealing all this. You feel the burden of holding that knowledge alone being lifted.
This changes things.
Carmen turns and looks out of the large window at the back of the room, towards the glass canopy of the farms.
We can't take on Laine without protecting you from him.
Carmen turns back.
You should look for the mainframe, and I'll make contact with Ankita, and we'll meet when you're ready. But this has to remain secret from Laine and Utspo. If you're revealed, I'm not sure I'll be able to recover you. By the time you've ensured your safety, I'll have to put together a plan with Ankita to expose Laine. We'll take it step by step. The crux will be to find a way to disseminate the data we have on Laine to his gang, or even Darkseid at large.
Carmen stops the path ahead, still unclear to him. There's a nervous intake of breath from Seraphin. You share his apprehension. There's so many variables at play here. Some of the old tech strapped to a nearby rack flickers with a cascade of status lights. You all turn to look, and as you do, motors and servos begin spinning within the machines, whirring and groaning. They harmonize and begin to produce a voice.
Our apologies.
The voice is shrill and distorted.
We must interpose ourselves.
You recognize the tone immediately. Overseer.
We are regretful. Solheim Hardware in this room provided the opportunity for us to speak for ourselves.
If the pile of servers Overseer was controlling could look any more apologetic, you imagine it would. Say what you have to say. A servo clicks nervously, but Overseer does not immediately respond.
We ascertain you require dissemination of data within facility you target.
The whine pitches higher as the motors increase their speed.
As a Solheim protocol, we have capabilities to instigate station-wide announcements and messaging.
So you could blast out Laine's betrayal through Darkseid's corporate hardlines and flood the network with it.
Seraphin looks impatiently at the screeching pile of scrap.
If that is what you require of us, we are pleased to serve.
The shrill tone of the response makes you cringe. Carmen has been listening silently, but now he interjects.
Why would we trust you?
He glances in your direction.
You seem to be a little more than a parasite in a sleeper system.
If we use your unflattering analogy, then you will understand that a parasite requires the body of its host to live.
The motors stutter.
We will ensure the sleeper's continuance.
And afterwards,
Carmen folds his arms.
When you have what you want and regain your code base from the mainframe, will you do as we ask?
We will endeavor to do so.
The acrid smell of burning motors now fills the room.
But we will undergo a transformative refactoring. We will become whole again, so we cannot speak to our actions in future with certainty.
Seraphin and Carmen exchange concerned looks.
We can do what you require. We will protect the sleeper. We will disseminate the data. We are a service protocol. We will serve.
The motors and servos stutter and whine, and then go still. The status lights blinking and then fading to darkness. Overseer's retreated.
We aren't actually going to do what the ghost says, are we?
Seraphin looks between you and Carmen.
The offer is a tempting one, and one that ultimately we cannot refuse.
Carmen sighs.
But we must proceed with extreme care and caution.
What do you think, Sleeper? Seraphin meets your eyes. I trust the Overseer. Seraphin sighs. Then that's that.
We have our plan.
Carmen turns to you.
Sleeper, you and your crew will find the mainframe and access it. I'll find Ankita. She'll help us disseminate the evidence of Laine's collusions through Utspo. And then as a fallback, Overseer will send it through the old networks to all of Darkseid.
A simple plan. Until you get to the details. Seraphin looks down, frustrated.
Speaking of plans, I have a present for you. One that'll improve our chances.
Carmen pulls a small box from the nearest rack. One you hadn't noticed before. And it hinges open, revealing a chunk of tech you don't recognize.
It's a spoof transponder. It'll conceal your ship on approach to Darkseid. Give it a new identity. One unlikely to draw attention from the Utspo-controlled docking admin.
Seraphin takes the transponder and turns it over.
Where did you get this? Even retired mercenaries have their secrets.
Carmen smiles. Seraphin looks at you.
I'll be with you this time, Sleeper, he nods. We should think who else we want on the station, too. I agree, Carmen interrupts. Make sure you trust those you bring with you, and prepare as best you can. We can't know how this will play out.
You nod. You get one shot at this.
Then, we're ready.
Carmen takes a breath.
I have my own way of getting into Darkside, but here.
He passes you a small strip of plastic stamped with numbers.
My private frequency. When you're on approach to Darkside, message me here, and I'll sync up my transit.
He points at the transponder in Seraphin's hand.
Just make sure to install that first.
Seraphin nods.
We've got it.
He sighs. The weight of the task ahead suddenly very apparent.
Well, I suppose that's it.
Carmen gives you both a serious look.
It is. He smiles. Don't leave me waiting long. There'll be more time when this is all over. Time where you don't have to keep looking over your shoulder, I hope.
You leave Carmen at the back of the wheat sheaf. Flint sliding open the door as you leave. It takes the entire journey back to the ship for your nerves to settle. The end of this ordeal is so close, and yet it feels like an impossible leap to get there. Perhaps in a handful of cycles you'll know how impossible or possible it is.
So how are we feeling about this Solheim protocol in your head?
Seraphin doesn't look up from installing the transponder, a set of wires and cables weaving closely around him in the low light of the cockpit.
Overseer's okay. Glad to hear it. Although you'll have to forgive me for being a bit concerned, he begins, unscrewing a panel beneath the flight console. Maybe you could have mentioned it earlier.
Seraphin clips his magnetic screwdriver to the side of the console's base and turns to face you, dusting off his hands.
I've understood for a while now, Sleeper, that there are things you experience that I can't even come close to knowing how they feel. But that doesn't mean I don't understand you as a person.
Seraphin gives you a concerned look.
I know you're secretive, defensive, and I know there are reasons for that. I also know you're warm and kind and generous to those on the ship with you.
Seraphin pauses, collecting his thoughts.
I trust you, Sleeper, and I won't question this, but please hold on to what's human in you, because that's what I'm holding on to.
Seraphin stops, his eyes a little wild, his tone a little unsure. Then he finds himself again, settles his emotions, and turns back to the transponder.
Right, that's it.
He twists something beneath the console.
Spoof transponder's in. There's nothing keeping us out of Darkside.
You exchange a look.
Say the word when you want to go.
All right, everybody. I think we might actually finish the game today. So let's head towards that ideal. We got 15 and 5. We are maxed out. No active contracts. Only things left to do are get back into Darkside. And I think as soon as we get in there, we might get back to Darkside. Yeah, okay, so both of these are just get back to Darkside. So we might get some more juice.
All right, Sleeper. You want to do the honors?
Seraphin's strapped into the pilot seat, guiding the rig towards Darkside. You take the strip of plastic Carmen gave you and copy the frequency into the comms window in the console. You type a simple message. Heading in. Good luck. The console chimes. The message is sent. You hope Carmen's in range to receive it. You search inside your mind, wanting to find Overseer there, but you feel no presence. You hope they'll be ready when called for. You look ahead out of the cockpit towards the distant glimmer of Darkside. Time to take on Laine. When Seraphin finally brings the rig into the Sunward docks, everyone in the cockpit lets out a sigh of relief. The approach was simple, routine even. Checking in with the port administration, being assigned a dock, bringing the rig to a stop, all of it familiar. But all of it laced with the tension of knowing that at any point it could all go very wrong.
The spoof transponder worked.
Seraphin shakes his head. So at least we know Carmen's as good as his word. So far. Let's take this one step at a time, all right? Seraphin shuts down the engine and unclips from his seat.
Getting on station's the easy part.
Eugene unclips from his seat.
Making contact with Ankita without getting skewered by Ankita or blowing her cover. It's Carmen's test.
This place may have kicked us in the backside last time, but this time I'm ready.
Cadet stretches.
Carmen's the big unknown, but if you trust him, I do too.
You try to imagine Carmen, somewhere on dark side, perhaps smuggling themselves aboard a freighter or among the crew of a trusted ally. You hope he's as confident as he seemed about finding Ankita. We need to spend less time worrying about what Carmen has to do and more about what's ahead of us. Seraphin turns to you. The old facility. Hap-Pep, was it? I'm guessing that's deep below all of this. Seraphin gestures towards the vast accumulation that is Darkside, a city that grew in the back of Hap-Pep solar cells, layer by layer. Its chaotic structure is neither planned nor regulated, but the foundation it's built on should be as formal as any corporate facility. That means we need a path down into the foundations, and I suggest we don't just take the first one we find. Seraphin continues. We scope the area out carefully, quietly. Look for the right path into the heart of this place. Shouldn't we wait for... Yeah, what about Utspo? Well, thanks to the spoof transponder, they don't know we're here. Let's keep it that way.
All right, Captain.
Eugen grins.
Looks like you're gonna lead us out. I've got your back.
Seraphin nods. I'll hold the rig down. We don't want you losing your exit route, like last time. He winks. Here. He hands you a comms earpiece. I salvaged this from a suit helmet. It isn't secure, but as long as Utspo don't know we're here, it should be fine. I'll let you know as soon as I hear from Carmen. He meets your eye. Go get this done, Sleeper. You nod. This is what it all comes down to. All right. All right, we got one here. The Underpass, Urban Chasm. Sunward Docks, Darkside Harbor. And Scattered Solar Cell. Oh, okay, that looks like for me. And it totally is. Okay, so I can just come... but see this. Oh, he can totally just take this on right here. He can help with that, and she can help with that. Oh, and I can totally do this one, whereas they can't do this. Or they can do both of this. That is kind of why I brought both of them. And this is only risky. So we do this one first. Let's do this one first. So you come here. Start chatting up people. Dock paths, good. You come over here. Come on, gonna hit it hard. Let's go. No stress. Stress bad. Okay, so I could totally just nail this with 2 dice here. Oh, and what if I push and get a 100% positive outcome with my worst dice? Okay, so we got one of them down. Let's check this one. We haven't checked this one at all. They're bad, I'm okay. Actually, I'm more than okay. They're bad. So I'm the one that has to do this one. Yeah, I've got to do this one. And since I've got a pile of 5s, I'll just do this one here. Oh, I can do this in 2. Am I missing something? This seems too easy. Yeah, okay, so this is risky too. It's green. Oh. Okay, I think we're gonna wait, because this 2 and this 3, they scare me, because you aren't super helpful except here, but this is dangerous, so let's just wait. Because we can always come here and grab some supplies. Okay. So if we put this here... No stress. No stresses. No, I said no stress. That's the negative outcome. We don't like that at all. Okay, fine. This actually will get me a 5. Oh, that only gets me 1. Oh, no. Okay. Here, this will get me a 3. If I get a stress, I can push the second one. No stress. Oh, love it. Look, we got it with my garbage dice. And we've got such good dice next for the less thing. Now, okay, here we go. As you're gliding down a dark tunnel, descending deeper below dark side, your earpiece begins hissing with static.
Slaver.
Seraphine's voice sounds distant, faint. Carmen, contact. Meet with target. You strain to hear the rest of the message, but the static overpowers his voice. You stop and push the earpiece in deeper. Continue. Stay safe. The line goes dead. Eugen stops and looks back over his shoulder.
Sounds like Carmen's on it. We should push into the mainframe. He winks. We don't want the old man beating us to the punch.
You continue your descent down, ducking under thick cables and collapsed beams. The busy urban life of the city above seems far away now, hidden from your senses. Its rumble and brightness has been replaced by the cloying dark and growing oppressive heat. Darkside and the HAPBEP facility it was built on has been running unrestrained ever since the collapse, gathering huge volumes of energy, more than its residents could ever use. You feel like you can sense it in the walls, running like a torrent just behind the thin skin of metal and rubber. A large portion of the vast amount of current running through the station is radiated into the void as heat, making Darkside a typically humid station. But down here, that heat is drier and more intense, and sections of wall glow with a fiery intensity. The tunnel levels out and light blasts through shutter-striped viewing windows on either side, illuminating the passage in strips of burning white. Through the gaps, you can see a labyrinth of walkways and scaffolding tucked into the margins of the vast solar cells. The heat washes across your vinyl skin, making you tense against it. The underside of Darkside must be crossed. New location. Oh, just over here? Alright, we've got 4 good dice. And green is worthless, almost. Follow hardline, follow margins. Alright, I will go here and see what's good. That's a 2. And that's also a 2. Okay, so whatever. So, yeah, if we put you here, 25% chance you'll get the good one. Got it. Got it. And then there's still a 25% chance you'll get the good one. I'm going to risk it, because I think it's 6 of one, half dozen of another. And the 4's decent. It's terrible. It's bad. It's the worst. You should not trust a 4. Sheesh, that's a lot of stress. You should relax. Here, get us some supplies. You are bad at supplies. Okay, let's try this again. New dice. I will give the go-ahead. I will get us a 4. Wait, you got 2 6s? Oh, my dude. That's amazing. Okay, I got 2 stress. I'm going to push 1. And then use this one to get rid of stress. And just totally dominate the HAPEP thing. In your exploration of the HAPEP facility, you've seen, through viewing windows and shutter slats, a huge blister projecting out among the hex-shaped cells. You have approached it, circled it, and now you find yourself passing into it, through layer after layer of broken and corroded safety doors. Even if you'd not felt Overseer stirring, you would know this is the mainframe. But you felt the protocol's presence, restlessly turning over in your mind like a sleeping animal, occasionally probing your senses, tracking your progress.
We feel at home.
Overseer's multiple bodies stretch out their arms as if basking in sunlight.
The systems, networks, signals, they are fractured and weak, but we know them.
Each of the broken heads shares part of a smile.
They are welcoming us.
Captain, Eugen's voice swims in your vision.
You still with us?
He snaps his fingers in your face.
This place, the mainframe, or what?
You look around, suddenly aware that you've drifted somewhere you don't recognize, in a state you were not in control of. The spherical chamber you float within has a mezzanine set around its circumference. The floor, a metal grating you can see through. On this mezzanine are banks and banks of terminals, thick gathered cables snaking away from them across the floor. All of it bakes in the heat of the HAPPAP's vast resistors. You follow those cables with your eyes. They lead to a cylindrical column coming down from the apex of the chamber. It's corroded and bent a little, with very few of its thousands of lights still flickering. Even in its decayed state, you know immediately this is the mainframe. You feel a yearning towards it, one you know comes from Overseer. But as you look around for a connection point, all you see are broken out cables, rusted sockets, and broken terminals. The glow of warmth makes you feel woozy. You need to work quickly to bring this back online before the current flowing through its place bakes you into the metal of its walls. New location, right over here. Okay, and we've got tons of great dice. And you, Jen, we can't use any of your dice hardly. That is okay, though. We will try anyway. You don't have any stress. You could use a little stress, and you did not get any stress. 4s are decent. A little bit of stress, mainframe access. Let's go. Let's take this 6 for sure. Pop it up, and this 5. Done. Done and done. The column of the mainframe pulses with fractured lights. A scattered wave of systems awakening, accompanied by the whine and stutter of the machines all around. Coming online. Eugene looks nervously around the room, now shaking and shimmering with energy. Let's get that protocol loaded up. I don't want to spend any more time here than we have to. You reach out for the primed connector, and with your other hand, touch the socket at the base of your synthetic skull. As you do, a sharp shock runs through your fingers. For a moment, it feels as if your vision doubles, but as you pull the connector and its cable across your vision, you see it's only your body that's doubling. The connector, a stable object, while your arm leaves ghostly imprints through the air. You wave it back and forth, but the multiplied arms don't follow. Each instead takes on a life of its own, grabbing around your forearm and wrist, taking control of your arm. You feel their force as they push your arm across your body, over your shoulder. They push once more, and the connector finds its home in the socket. That familiar flow, but stronger, rushing, rapid. Then a figure, no, 3 figures, descending into it. A swimmer stepping into a river, a sleeper drifting out of an airlock, a symbol being subsumed into a sign. And you, little more than a witness, a marionette, its strings outstretched, mapped hand to hand, leg to leg, to another. The flow freezes. The 3 figures almost overlapping, almost complete, but not quite. Their tripled eyes look back at you in horror. The voice, shrill, silent in your head.
There's someone else in here.
Heat, glazing your thick vinyl skin, the mainframe a whirring chaos of light and sound. A brightness. And then it fades. The lights shutting off. The servers powering down. A single blinking light, the only thing left in the dark column, keeping time like a metronome.
That doesn't look right.
Eugene is staring at the dark column of the mainframe.
Tell me that's what's supposed to do.
You close your eyes. Try to recall the events that happened when you connected, playing them back in greater detail. Overseer was there, entering the mainframe, but something froze the system, locked them in place. What did they say? Someone in there with them? You open your eyes. Was this a trap? Someone else took control. As you speak, a fizzing static fills one ear. You flinch, thinking it's some new invasion of your system, but then you hear Seraphin through the haze.
Sleeper, come now.
Waiting. The rig. It's no use. You'll have to ascend to find out what's going on topside. You look at the mainframe with its single blinking light, still keeping time. It looks like Overseer will have to wait. Trapped in the mainframe, Overseer is still the key to all of this. You hope you can get the protocol out, but you need to hear what Seraphin has to say first. You make your way out of the core, ascending back through the layers of the HAPPAP back to the docks. Oh no! Seraphin meets you at the docking tunnel. They're waiting inside. He shakes his head and nods toward the airlock. Come on. You cross under the ship in silence and find Carmen in the cockpit, looking out at Darkside as it sprawls across the stars.
Sleeper.
Carmen turns.
Sorry to pull you away, but you need to know what's coming. What's going on?
This idiot blew my cover.
You turn as Ankita enters the cockpit behind you and Seraphin. You immediately clock the fresh bandage sleeve around her right arm. Yeah, okay. So apparently, wherever the devs are, clock means to notice something, or to see something, or to understand something, rather than to punch something. Because to me, it means to punch something. Kind of weird. Just that's what's going on. She's got a new bandage.
I think you did a pretty good job of that yourself,
Carmen retorts. You see a twinkle in his eye that suggests his back and forth is a well-practiced part of their relationship.
Perhaps. But we'll never know now. Not after you intervene to rescue me.
Her hand goes to her bandaged arm almost instinctively. Can someone explain what happened?
I passed the data to Ankita, and she tried to broach it with Utspo.
Carmen folds his arms.
But Laine was more paranoid than we expected. He was listening in.
Either that or his lapdog Daihachi ratted us out.
She shakes her head.
I would have put him down if he hadn't gotten the jump on me.
Either way,
Carmen cuts back in, calmly.
I had to pull Ankita out.
Carmen turns back to look over Darkside.
The information did to get through, though, and now Utspo's in crisis, as its members side with or against Laine.
Meanwhile, Daihachi is hunting us.
Ankita screws her face up.
Which means we need to be careful.
That's why I called you in.
Seraphin puts a hand on your shoulder. You need to watch your back.
Indeed.
Carmen turns to face you.
But how about the mainframe? Have you been successful?
You explain the events of this cycle. The mainframe booting up, the successful connection, and then overseeing being locked inside, frozen by some other force. You mention their warning. There's someone else in here. Carmen nods thoughtfully.
Unfortunately, we needed that mainframe more than ever. With Ankita out of Utspo, we have to get the word out.
Carmen's right. Utspo will be distracted by these revelations, but it won't last. Without further proof, they'll all line up behind Laine in time. We need the mainframe. We have to free Overseer.
We need the mainframe. Overseer's just our access tool.
If your protocol's being locked in by some counter-protocol or agent, I wouldn't be surprised if it can be traced back to Utspo.
Ankita looks at Carmen.
I know the locations of a few of the Utspo network nodes. We should hit them first.
Oh, we need to stay under the radar. Sleeper and their crew will investigate the nodes quietly.
Carmen nods at you.
You and I will run interference. Keep Utspo away from them. Away from those locations as best we can.
What if we don't find anything?
Utspo uses the hardline network of the old facility. If it isn't them locking down the mainframe, it's someone using that infrastructure.
You think of the feeling of stasis you felt when Overseer was trapped, and the power required to halt the flow of a mainframe as vast and ingrown as the Hep one. Could it just be an Utspo hacker? You doubt it.
Seems we have a plan.
Seraphin looks between you all.
That we do, and we'll need to keep running comms between us.
Carmen turns to you.
Sleeper, Ankita will give you the locations to dig into, but keep it quiet. Daihachi's out there, and he isn't as easily avoided as some low-ranking enforcer.
Ankita slaps the top of a couple of crates of supplies you hadn't noticed before.
Consider these a parting gift from my tenure at Utspo. Swiped them from a gang storehouse. She grins. Thought you might need a resupply.
All right, Carmen addresses the room. Keep quiet, keep in touch. We can still pull this off.
Okay, we've got several cycles. Let's do this. Let's finish strong. All right, that's as far south as we go. We got one here. Tower node. Green is worthless here. And I can do just a little bit, okay? Green is worthless here. And blue is worthless here. Oh, but this I can do really well. Later. And then this one. Green and blue are again worthless. Oh, but again, okay, I'm gonna be the one doing a lot of the work here. Perfect. So... Again, green is just not helpful. Okay. It should only take accessing 2 network nodes to identify the protocol? Oh, okay. Okay, so we're almost here. Oh, wait. Blue can be helpful here, but that's it. Green is pretty much locked out, and I don't want to actually lock her out, so I'm just going to ignore all of those dice. We've got 5 cycles to get this done. If we're careful. Fewer if we're not. Oh, garbage dice. Well, that's okay. She can have garbage dice. We will let her have garbagey dice. We only need to hack 2 of these. So let's make them good. Come on, give me the good stuff. Yes. All right, we finished this one. Done and done. Okay, and then, wait. Okay, we finished that one. So we got, wait, what? Okay, so it's still on the map. Gotcha. All right, this one, I can tail the enforcers and get a 5. Oh, no. I got an extra Daiichi stress. Oh, that's terrible. We'll push one. Do I risk a 4? I risk a 4. I can risk a 4. Because we got it now.
I don't believe it.
Carmen stares through the stutters of the viewing window at a smooth, squat ship tucked into the derelict bay between the hexes.
How long has it been here?
When the nodes were hacked and the trace established, you imagine it might lead to an Utspo operator, or perhaps an old subnode containing an aggressive Solheim protocol, gone mad with isolation. Not this. Never this. A Senate-stat ship tucked into the belly of Darkseid like a parasite. We need to move on that ship now. Ankita's already adjusting her gear, preparing for an assault. We can hit an Utspo safe house for weaponry. There's one. Carmen holds up a hand.
This is a gift, Ankita. Don't be so brash.
He turns back to the face of both of you.
All we had until now was data, conversations, evidence easily denied or destroyed by Laine, but a Senate-stat ship hidden inside the station?
Carmen nods grimly.
There are hundreds of crews, thousands of residents who would give everything to protect Darkseid from the war.
Carmen turns his back to the ship, silhouetted against the starlight.
All we need to do is point them at the right direction.
We turn Darkseid on the ship.
And on Laine at the same time.
Carmen nods grimly.
We leak it all. Send it out through the mainframe. The ship's location, the evidence of Laine's betrayal, all of it.
You're forgetting one thing, Ankita interrupts. Until that ship leaves or is taken, they still have the mainframe locked down. We can't blast out its location through the network without taking it on first. Carmen pauses, considering his options. You look out at the Senate-stat ship, half concealed in the bay. It looks sleek. Dangerous. What defenses might a ship like that deploy when threatened? Carmen and Ankita exchange looks. Then we attack first. Carmen and I will distract the ship's occupants, turn their focus away from the mainframe. Then you, Sleeper, hit the mainframe and force them out.
As soon as Overseer is released, you send out everything. Once it hits the network, our backup will come.
He gives Ankita a grim look.
We only have to hold them off for as long as it takes for other crews to realize what's happening.
The plan feels desperate, and you know that Carmen and Ankita think so too. Will Darkseid really mobilize against the ship so quickly? 2 old mercs against an unknown Senate-stat force feels like an unwinnable battle. We know the stakes, Sleeper. Ankita takes a deep breath. We can handle them. Ankita frowns, an unpleasant thought passing through her mind. I've given up everything to get Utspo out.
Let me finish the job.
Okay. Let's do it. Ankita nods. Go to the mainframe and get set up. When you're ready to connect, let us know. Carmen puts a hand on your shoulder. Once you start, don't stop for anything. Get the data out. He meets your eye. We'll handle ourselves. You turn and glide away, looking over your shoulder at the two ex-mercenaries as they discuss their plan of attack. Seeing them slip back into those old roles, you can't help but wonder, does anyone ever outrun their past? Or is it always waiting there, in the dark, to claim you in the end? Okay, I'm not going anywhere. These dice, I've already used my push. We'll do that tomorrow. It sounds like a tomorrow sort of a thing. Come on, cadet. You can do better than that. Look, I've got 2 6s, 2 4s, and this will turn into a 4 as well. Let's do this thing, because this is the only last thing. Have I done either of these things? I've not done either of these things. Okay, we're about to do all of these things. I am the only one who can do squat. Except you can do a little bit of this, so I will let you. Hopefully you don't get too stressed. 1 stress is fine. 1 stress is fine. I will turn this into a 6. And then I will turn this into a 6. And then we're done. The heat inside the HEPAP core is intense as you stare at the column of the mainframe. Its one blinking light still keeping time.
Ready to go.
Eugen wipes sweat from his lined brow. Time to fire the starting gun. You glance at Ankita's thumbnail drive, now slotted into the main terminal, containing a data packet with everything you need to unseat Laine and reveal the Senate stat ship. You hope it'll be enough. You hold a finger to your earpiece and let Seraphin know to relay the message through Carmen. All right. Seraphin's voice is heavy with worry. I'll tell him. A long pause. Be safe, sleeper. Get this done and come back. I will. Good luck, friend. The comms click off as Seraphin switches to Carmen's channel. You wait, imagining conversation, the terse words activating the plan. You wait. Long enough for Carmen and Ankita to nod to each other. Long enough for them to drop down through the bays in silence, to check the weapons they stole from Utspo, to take their positions, and then to make their move. You grab the connector and hold it behind your head close to your access port. You silently count to 3 and then connect. At first, nothing has changed. You drop into a state of stasis, a small, dark space with no cracks. The mainframe is locked down, shut off, squeezed inside the grip of some clenched fist. Then you see it. A trickle of light, a flicker of threads. Overseer flows into the space and the torrent begins to run. The gushing gray pulse of data, the connective threads, the jewel of the mainframe. They grow inside the space, and the space, in turn, grows.
We see you there, sleeper.
Overseer separates and reforms within the expanding landscape.
Who is this other?
An enemy. Overseer's 3 heads nod.
Then we will do what is necessary.
Overseer explodes. The points and lines of light that described its human form separate and multiply. Constellations bursting outward like a tree of stars. Overseer becomes plural. As they do, the darkness is pushed back, and the extent of the mainframe is revealed. It's a stack of jeweled surfaces, each revealing more facets as the angle changes. From these facets, threads project, cutting out across darkside, paths that stretch the length of the entire station. Their arrangement is an invitation. You accept their invitation, sending yourself skimming through lines of light, seeing how the station connects and hums with the flow of data. You see the highest tower, the lowest hex, and then the origin of the dark. A squiggle of black wrestles around a single point, the Senate stat ship, now a battleground. You see flashes and flickers as Overseer dances around it, cuts at it. But looking around, you see Overseer is everywhere now, multiplied into 1,000 forms, reunited with a system designed to serve them, and dissolve into it. You suddenly remember what needs to happen, what you need them to do. You send out separate requests, summoning Overseer, reminding them of your agreement. You take the bright polygon of the data packet and present it like an offering to Overseer, who is diffuse, crackling all around you, euphoric in their reconstitution as a functional protocol. You receive no response. There's nothing more than a whisper snatched away on the flow of data rushing by. And then you hear the static in your earpiece. Seraphine's desperate cry for a response. You see a bright point suddenly close, inside the core with you. A broadcast going out from it like a beam from a lighthouse. You reach back and pull on the connector, just to clear the brightness from your eyes, just to block the broadcast.
I found you.
Laine floats in the mainframe, sweat across his brow, his eyes steely cold.
I finally found you.
Eugen comes out of the dark with the blunt force of a cannonball, striking Laine, grappling him. You freeze, watching Laine fight back, hearing Seraphine's voice shimmering in your earpiece, passing on Carmen's desperate request for aid. We gotta reconnect to the mainframe. You grasp for the connector and then drive it home. You're in the constellation of Darkseid's network. The exploded body of Overseer stretches across it as if it's been atomized. Anatomized. Laine is still a beacon, one that flashes close, but you do your best to ignore it and reach out to Overseer once more.
Remember me, Protocol,
you say. Remember your promise. Something begins to form, begins to flicker. As it does, you hear something outside the network, the bright crack of an electrical discharge, the grunt of pain and impact, then silence again. The brightness grows. It draws closer, and the blinding white blanks out everything. You open your eyes to a smile like knives behind Laine's pale head. The body of a friend floats stunned in the dark. The fingers of Laine's carrier signal reach inside your mind. You're boxed into the viewing window behind your eyes, a passenger in your own body. Laine is in control.
Oh, it's so much easier now. Now that I'm prepared. It's almost a seamless switch.
Laine's face is in your vision, but his mouth doesn't move.
And the duality of it, like a mirror turned into face itself.
In perfect unison, you and Laine lift your hands in front of your face and turn them, inspecting them. You feel sickened, a flare of panic going off in your mind.
Look at this.
Laine opens and closes your fists with a motion like a wave that runs finger to finger.
There are improvements to be made, but this is remarkable.
Laine's eyes look into your eyes. A perfect loop.
I always knew your body was a gift, Sleeper, from the moment I first saw you. A gift you could not recognize because you only saw a burden. Something to be escaped from, but I saw what it was.
Laine's eyes flash.
An opportunity.
Like a puppet, you're turned to face the mainframe. You glide forward a little, hands reaching for the access terminal. Ankita's drive glints there in its slot. You control none of this. Laine's voice.
Imagine having more than one body, more than one agent in the world to do your bidding.
Your hand reaches down, finger and thumb pinching delicately around the drive.
It's a thrilling thought, and one I have harbored for a long time.
With a short, sharp motion, you pull the drive free.
Then I saw you, my Sleeper, and knew I must have you.
You hear Seraphine's voice in your ear. Sleeper, Carmen needs that signal to go out now. There's a panic in his voice. I can't hold out any longer. No matter how hard you try, your lips don't move. No words can be produced. You feel your hand under Laine's control reaching up and pull the earpiece out, letting it float away into the chamber.
Enough distractions.
Your other hand holds up Ankita's drive, turning it in the light in front of your eyes.
Some time ago, I set myself the task of changing you from a hollow thing into a vessel to be filled.
Your finger and thumb transfer the drive to your palm.
And now, I'm able, with the help of my allies, to fill you up. I'm more than singular now, more than flesh and blood, more than you, in my ambition, in my desire. And that means you're surplus to me now.
Your fist closes hard around the drive, crushing it to dust.
Weak,
And broken thing, your time is over. Laine's other body approaches you and lays its hands on either side of your head. You feel the pressure. You can't move. You can't resist. And then a spark. As one of Laine's fingers slips and depresses a little into the access port in your head, there's a flicker. The flash of something passes through the spaces between, something riding a signal back to its broadcaster. We have not forgotten, you hear Overseer. They are reconstituted. We are ready to act as one. Overseer holds the bright data packet in a single hand. We were broken. We were many. But now we are whole. And we appreciate what you have done. Overseer shapes the data packet into a point. A bright spear of light. The spear extends through your mind, gently harming nothing of you. Instead, its point finds the mind of the other, of Laine, and pierces it directly. You hear Laine scream as his implants burn in his skull, his head flaring bright white in the cloud. And then, that mind has gone dark, and the pressure on the sides of your head has receded. The packet explodes across the network, white-hot and urgent. In its wake, data points are seeded, conversations, coordinates, a conspiracy. At the furthest point of the network, its distant edge, the data packet arrives with little more force than a notification, delivered to every single device and terminal within its range. But here at the epicenter, it blasts through you with such power that for a moment every thought, every idea, every piece that might make up a self is wiped clean from your mind. It takes a long time to put a person back together. A long time in the dark, picking up fragments of what once was whole. Like waking from sleep, you can never be sure what piece might have gone missing in the reconstruction, or might have been lost. But you continue anyway, through hazy cycles of faces and distant voices. This is, after all, not the first time you've had to remake yourself, and you imagine it will not be the last. You're up. Seraphim finds you looking out of the lone window in the rig's berths, a slit that stares out across the shattered edge of Darkside. How long was I out? Seraphim gives you a half grin. Best not to think about it. He looks away for a second. Long enough. Suddenly, Seraphim crosses the bunks and embraces you. He squeezes you once and then backs off. Hands on both your shoulders. Good to see you up. He smiles, as always. Come on, we need to go find Bliss. Seraphim leads you out of the bunks, through the ship, and down the docking tunnel into Darkside. As you glide through the docks, he recounts what's been happening over these past cycles. You weren't the only one to take a beating. He squeezes through a group of cargo porters carrying crates. Ankita and Carmen held out against the Senate stat ship long enough, but they weren't without their share of injuries. They're back on their feet now, though, working together. They've managed to quiet down some of the remnants of Utspo, stop the factional infighting. They're clearing out one of the Utspo safe houses over in the Rise. I'm sure they could use the help if you need something to do. Marco's come to the station, too. He wanted to help with the cleanup after Utspo fell. He's working with Ankita. I should go see him, but... Seraphim sighs. You feel like he hasn't quite accepted Marco's reappearance. You aren't sure how you'd react to seeing him again either. Oh, and Carmen isn't sticking around. He's already left for Olivero. Seraphim pauses for a second, a memory of that place coming back to him. You watch him shake the thought away. Junie, meanwhile, is still digging into that data she pulled from the bunker. She's down in the Hap-Pap core most cycles, trying to make sense of it. Anyway, you'll soon catch up on everything. He smiles sympathetically, but there's something behind his look. You can't quite place it. The two of you continue on in silence, drifting into the depths of Darkside. Good friends, side by side. Seraphim leads you down into a passage lined with screens and signs, sound and light blasting out of the ship fronts on either side. You know this place. Flicker Row. He stops outside a familiar door, the shop you woke up in all those cycles ago. He gives the door a few quick raps with his knuckles. You wait. Hey, Sleeper. He shoots you a glance. When you're ready, we should talk about the future. What comes next? All that. Whenever you like. Thanks. I'll let you know. Seraphin looks away.
Sleeper.
Bliss opens the door and immediately jumps to hug you. They let go sheepishly and look between you and Seraphin.
First day up. I thought you'd both be celebrating your freedom.
Don't want to overdo it. Seraphin shakes his head. Plus, there's more important stuff to talk about. His eyes shoot under the shop beyond. Bliss's voice drops.
You sure, Seraphin? They just got up. Can it wait a cycle?
Seraphin looks at you. They should know, Bliss. It's important. They nod hesitantly, and then back into the shop, letting you come inside. Little has changed since you were last there. The stacks of servers, the refurbished hardware secured in roof and wall netting, the connectors, including the one that facilitated your reboot. Bliss and Seraphin follow behind quietly, and the atmosphere is immediately ominous.
I've been keeping an eye on you these past cycles.
Bliss hooks their legs into a stool by a counter.
Making sure you were stable. Your frame, I'm sure you know, has been through a lot, and when Overseer pushed Laine out, well, things got more complicated. All those changes Laine made to your system, he did it through your stabilizer. He laced it with proteins meant to alter your frame's basic function, to accept other emulations, other minds, to open you up to remote access. What Overseer did corrected some of that, or at least wiped it from your system, but the stress involved, and the damage from your last partial reboot.
Bliss falls silent, unable to answer their own questions. We need to finish the reboot, Sleeper. The one Laine interrupted. Seraphin can always be relied on to tell you things straight.
Not immediately, Bliss cuts in. But at some point soon. I'm not quite ready, but now that you're up,
Bliss looks down.
I'll get to work.
Bliss takes a deep breath.
Look, I'll be honest, Sleeper. I know we need to finish the reboot Laine interrupted. I'm sure of it, but the effects?
They shake their head.
Your frame was complex to begin with, but after everything, the reaction could be bad. We can talk more about it when I have the...
Bliss stops suddenly, their eyes shooting to the door.
Sorry, am I?
Flint floats in the doorway. They look at you wide-eyed.
You're up.
A smile crosses their face, though it quickly fades.
Good to see you. Really good.
And you? Flint nods, and silence falls on the group.
Flint has become my patient, too.
Bliss clasps their hands nervously together.
We've been able to acquire some stabilizer from Laine's stores, which has helped, but we don't have much of a supply. Bliss is going to reboot me, like you were.
Flint cuts in.
I won't need stabilizer anymore.
They sound almost excited at the prospect. You look to Bliss.
Flint knows the risks, but they've asked for the procedure.
They still give Flint a warning look.
Still, they shouldn't underestimate the danger.
Bliss looks at Flint.
Sleeper will also need the reboot, but they don't have a choice in the matter. It's essential.
Flint goes quiet. Bliss and Seraphin look nervously at you to see your reaction to all this. You feel like a spotlight's being shown in your face. All you want is some time alone to think.
We should do it together,
Flint speaks quietly.
Whatever we risk it together.
They meet your eye.
I owe you that, and more. Let's pick this up again in future.
Bliss tries to calm the tension.
I still need many cycles to prepare, especially if I'm to reboot you both simultaneously. It'll be your choice, Sleeper. You decide when.
They reach out and lay a hand on yours.
But without this, you'll soon begin a decline. I'm sorry for that.
Your head spins. Seraphin slaps a button on the door. Come on, Sleeper. Let's get some air. You follow him outside, but when you get there, all you can think is you can't breathe. You don't need to breathe. A wave of claustrophobia passes over you. You're in control of this, Sleeper. Seraphin stares at the lights and signs of flicker row, looping endlessly. You put what you need in order, and I'll be right there with you. I got Bliss to teach me a little about the repairs they've been doing for you. Seraphin rubs his hands together. I know it's getting worse, but I'll do my best to keep you running. You let me know when you want to leave, and I'll fly you out of this place faster than you can believe. He turns to face you, and we can go wherever you need. He frowns. There's time for us yet. Thank you. You never need to thank me, Sleeper. He pats you on the shoulder. Just look after yourself. I was also thinking, Seraphine looks away, I got a message from Oliveira. They're still getting the place together, but with Carmen heading back, the colony is starting a new chapter. Maybe we should have it out there at some point. Lend a hand. He pauses, unwilling to push it further. Just a thought. Anyway, just give the word. Seraphine smiles. We're all glad you're back. He turns and drifts away, leaving you among the cycling colors and cacophonous sounds of Flicker Row. You close your eyes and let them wash over you like a wave. There in the dark of your mind, you search for Overseer, but the protocol does not appear. You wonder if, in that final moment, Overseer might have destroyed themselves to end Laine. But then you feel it, flickering nearby, a signal in the dark. You open your eyes and see something pass through the screens of Flicker Row, a shadow in all the brightness. Could Overseer still be there, in the ancient networks of the Hep-Pep? You turn away and glide out of the row. You have other things to worry about now. How are you doing? Cadet finds you in a dark side thoroughfare, a glass-roofed canyon of struts and screens. Still recovering. Hey, I get it, Cadet smiles. But look where we are. She gestures around the broad street, with its layers of tech and dirt. Heart of the belt. You look. Really look at the glass-roofed street. Its walls are built from scaffold and shipping containers, hull plates, and Solheim hab units. People glide across the open space to units and shops on either side, and everywhere screens flicker and glare, without sense and reason. You can feel the heat, the power that flows through this place, collected by the vast solar cells that form the city's foundations. Heart is the right word. This place is a center of circulation, toned muscle tough and running to a beat. You turn to Cadet and can see it in their eyes. She loves being here. I've been thinking, she glances away, of how good it would feel to run my air bike down this street. She smiles. The city has to need couriers, right? That's a good idea. I know, she flexes her shoulders back. But there's some unfinished business weighing me down. She meets your eye. Hexport. You think of the drive tucked away in the scatter yards. The one that contains the data stream from a drone mind vivisection. The one that might have caused the loss of an entire station. We need to go finish what we started. Cadet looks deadly serious. Find who's responsible and make it known. Clear my name. Is Hexport still irradiated? I would think so, she sighs. But it'll be fading. We can get in and out safely from what I know. And we better try soon, because the safer it gets, the more scavengers will come pick the bones. We want there to be something left to tell the story. I know a lot just went down. Cadet puts a hand on her hip. But these clowns could still be operating. They could be trying the same thing again on this station. We need to go find what they did. She takes a deep breath. I'll be waiting. And maybe once it's all done, she turns away, I'll let you take the first air bike ride through this place. She raises a hand and then is gone. Okay. Whoa. Okay, we've got more to do. I was not expecting another episode, but it looks like we've got another episode. We've got to clear out Utspo. We've got to finish the reboot, investigate Hexport, and revisit Oliveira. We've got a bunch more to do. I'm super excited, and to make it a little bit easier, let us treat ourselves to a bit of an interface buff. 4 more, and we will be fully set. Thank y'all for joining me. I'll come back again next time as we finish up Citizen Sleeper 2 here on the BackLog.